Hey guys, this is Pat and Heidi from Rain Country Homestead, and we're here today to talk about 5 ways of saving money, and in particular electricity, in today's little session.
Yes. Okay, so keep in mind that I just wanted to limit it to 5 things in each category. That by no way means those are the only ways that we save electricity or save money in these different categories. I just wanted to keep the list fairly small, and then also to allow other people to interject with their comments so that we can all learn tips so we can all learn tips and tricks from each other.
Right.
So again, this one is 5 ways to save electricity, and this is going to be part of a series of several videos that we'll be putting out.
Okay, so when you get your bill at the end of the month, where does all of that electricity come from? Well, of course, that little meter out in the backyard or out in the front yard or wherever it's at is turning around, and it's counting current. It's counting kilowatts, and so current's going through the meter, converts that into kilowatt hours, and thus you get a bill at the end of the month. If you're on grid, if you're on grid or off grid or grid tied or whatever the case may be, you still get that bill. Well, part of that is a service charge, and around here it's around $30 a month for a service charge.
Approximately.
And,
Yep.
approximately $30, and then there's a little bit of a tax
No matter
there.
how little electricity you use.
Right. So if you went over to the main breaker and shut off your breaker and killed the power to the house, you'd still get a bill at the end of the month for a $30 service charge. And we're so lucky to get a privilege tax
Yes.
on our bill. Thank you very much.
Privilege tax. We're just so privileged.
So anyway, here's idea number 1. And for a lot of people who are just breaking into saying, well, how can we save money on electric bill? A lot of us aren't really cognizant of electricity. We don't think about it from day to day. We just go on about our lives, and we don't think anything about electricity until the end of the month when the bill comes. A great way to find out where your energy usage is going is to take a weekend just take any weekend that you're not working and you don't have anything too hectic going on, and just go over to your service box and flip off the main breaker. If you want to learn fast on where your energy usage is going, flip off that main breaker, and throughout the day you turn on the hot water tank, and you know, okay, well, the hot water's lukewarm. Oh yeah, I know that I'm using electricity to heat that element. That element in turn heats that water and gives us hot water coming out of the tap.
And how many times do you turn on a light in a room where you really don't need it?
Absolutely.
You'll find that out real quick.
Flipping that switch on and off, you figure out, gosh, can I do without that light? Can I cut back on, it starts to get you to think methodically on what ways that you can cut back on that energy usage.
So point number 1 is, first of all, understanding where your power is going. That's going to help you save on electricity. Now, one thing I wanted to add before we continue on is saving on electricity. This also applies to those who are totally relying on solar or wind power and are not connected to the grid at all. Because as you know, if you're already there or if you're thinking about going there, saving electricity is going to be very important, because you're only going to be allowed so much usage, so much storage on your battery bank. And once that's used up for the day, it's gone. So you learn how to work around that, and you want to learn how to conserve that. So maybe it's already paid for. Maybe you don't have to pay more for it if you use more electricity, but if you use up all your electricity before the sun goes down or the wind stops blowing, then you're out for the rest of the night until you can get more built up in your bank. So saving goes both ways, whether it be saving money on your power bill or making your battery bank last throughout the full day or the week, however it works out for you. Okay, so number two, a way that you can save is when you're investing in your appliances. Obviously, one of the things you want to look for is the Energy Star, and look at the amount and do comparisons on how much money it's going to save you, how much energy it pulls. But more specifically, the thing I wanted to talk about for point number two is your freezer. What type of freezer you have is going to make a big difference. So when you're shopping for your freezer, I highly recommend you go with a chest freezer. Yes, they're not as easy to access all your food. All the things that you put in there, they're not as convenient as an upright freezer, but they're going to save you a lot more. And there are ways that you can set up your chest freezer to keep it organized and easier to access your things. Now a lot of them come with the little sliding drawers at the top and dividers in the bottom so that you can put your meats, your vegetables, and all that into different categories, so you're not digging through the whole freezer to find what you need. And then to top it off, the other thing you can do to help conserve your chest freezer power is to throw a quilt or two over it. That's what I do. I always keep a blanket over my chest freezer year round. And especially if you lose power for whatever reason, keeping a blanket over it and keeping that shut as much as you can is going to conserve a lot of power. We have frequent power outages here. And every time we have a power outage here, we know, I mean, yes, we have our solar power, but the power outages always happen in the middle of winter when our solar power is low, and it's during those times that we find, I actually enjoy them because it helps me realize, gee, why do I keep trying to turn on the bedroom light when I could see just fine without it? And to help me think and be more cognizant of that, and just turning on lights when there's no need for it, it's just silly. We get a lot of power outages, so we learn that all the time on what we can do to not just how we're using the power, but what can I do differently to help us save money on electricity, or to do something more off-grid so I'm not so dependent on public power.
One thing I wanted to add to the freezer, the reason a chest freezer is more efficient than an upright freezer is because every time you open the door on a upright freezer, most of the cold is actually coming out of that freezer and the warm air is coming in. If you have a chest freezer, when you open up the door in a chest freezer, the cold, as you may know or may not know, cold goes down and heat goes up. So when you open a chest freezer, all of that cold is contained inside that freezer. Right. And the other thing that I also want to mention on the freezer end is check your seal. Make sure that you have a good seal all the way around the door and the base of the freezer, because if you have a poor seal, then that cold is constantly coming out of your freezer. So,
and with that, there's another point, is you shouldn't be climbing up on top of your freezer. If you're short like me, you tend to like to climb on things to get to stuff, and I used to do that with our old freezer all the time until Mr. Rain told me that you shouldn't be putting anything heavier or climbing or sitting on your freezers, because it's going to ruin the seal and thus affect the integrity of that and its ability to insulate and keep things colder in there.
well, actually, it warps the door. You'll
That too.
You'll disfigure the door, and then
Yeah.
the seal will.
Right. Okay, and then another thing is the LED lights. Now, I did mention how we use in my last video and in another video on how we use LED string lights all through the house. And the great thing about that is we can run them off of our solar power year round, but even on our public power, because they draw so little energy, it just really doesn't make much of an effect on our overall bill. But there's also other types of LED lights. You can get the bulbs. They're really going down in price. They're still an investment, but it's a recommended investment. LED lights last way longer than your incandescents. Now, incandescents are better for your eyes, I'll be honest here, but when you're looking at saving power, LEDs are going to save the most, and in the long run, even if the bulbs are more expensive, because they last for such a long time, you can drop them and they won't break. But Miss Butterfingers here is always dropping things. I'm, like Mr. Rain says, kind of a bowl and china cabinet. It doesn't matter being a dancer all my life. When it comes to day-to-day stuff, I'm really kind of a klutz. So I've dropped many an LED bulb, and not a single one is broke, nor has it affected its longevity. So I recommend them because of all those things. It's just gonna last you a lot longer. You don't have to worry about losing them. They're definitely worth the investment.
So here's another point. A lot of people will say, okay, I'm going to save power and I'm going to shut everything off. So they shut their lights off, and they even go so far as to shut their refrigerator off and their freezer off and their hot water tank off just to see what kind of money they can save. Well, you go outside, you look at your meter, and the thing's still turning. What's going on? Well, you got what they call phantom voltage going on there. Phantom voltage is something like the little red light that's on your television set that shows that the TV is off.
But it's still watching you.
The circuitry on your appliances that has memory voltage to it to keep memory to some of the different timers and different things such as that. So phantom voltages really overall collectively really add up to, it's like having a water leak. You know, if you have a slow leak at the end of the month, it really adds up on your bill. So think of things that are phantom voltages. Your coffee pot, you know, do you drink coffee in the morning, 1 or 2 cups, and do you leave the coffee pot plugged in? Well, that coffee pot is constantly drawing power all the time to keep the little clock in the front running, or the memory circuit of any of your different appliances going. So phantom voltage is a pretty important thing that a lot of people don't think about.
So would you recommend power strips that you can just shut the whole strip off? Would that be a better idea, or should
that
you
would
just
actually
unplug
be
it?
a better idea, because then you're not wearing out your plug-ins. Plugging something into an outlet and pulling the cord out of the outlet is always going to cause more wear and tear on your outlet itself.
One more thing we wanted to talk about, and this will be number 5, and that is, and this again is going to be another investment, and it's what I would highly recommend for anyone who can do that, and that is investing in a wood stove. And yes, as Mr. Rain will explain later about the firewood and stuff, you know, there is more involved. You have to really count your costs. You know, at getting firewood, do you have to buy your firewood? Do you have to go get it yourself? But the thing for us is we've most of the time get the firewood ourselves, but there's been occasions that we've bought firewood. And in the long run, it is the best bang for our buck because of the fact that having the wood stove, it's just a regular flat top wood stove. We don't have a kitchen cook stove or anything like that. Our wood stove is in our living room, and it serves multi-purposes. So as you know, we live in rain country. It rains 9 months out of the year. And we have to have fires typically in the house 9 months out of the year. And so I hang all of our laundry in front of the wood stove. So it is also my clothes dryer. So not only is it heating the house, it's drying the clothes. I also cook on the wood stove anytime I've got it going. That's where I also make our coffee, because we don't have an electric coffee maker. We just have a percolator, and it goes on the wood stove, and that makes our coffee. It also serves as a source of heating water for washing our dishes during the day and anything else that we may need hot water for. And it also serves as a dehydrator. So during the months where we're getting, those few months where we're getting plenty of sun, yes, I use my Nesco electric dehydrators quite a bit, but whenever I got a fire going, that's where most of my food dehydrating is going to happen. I dehydrate my soaked wheat berries for grinding into flour. I dehydrate citrus peels, herbs, apples, beef jerky, anything I can, using my wood stove for that. So multi-purpose, I'm saving electricity in so many different ways. And so for us, it's a worthwhile investment that now that's again another source of power that we own and can use again and again and again.
Now bear in mind when you're using a wood stove, obviously, and anything when it comes to homesteady type ventures you get into, means requires more time and effort and knowledge on your part to pursue this type of a lifestyle. And getting firewood, maintaining your stove, all of these things are just a part of the picture. Without segueing off into stove maintenance or anything like that, we wanted to focus more on ways you could save on electricity. Yes, you're going to go out and get the firewood. You're going to be utilizing power saws, the time it takes to go get the wood, fuel, chains, maintenance on all that kind of stuff too. But if you're talking about your time versus saving money, overall, we have found out that burning wood is more cost effective for us. These 5 steps here are just it's not all of the ways you can save on electricity. It's not all the ways you can save at all, but you guys have any tips on saving on electricity, put it in the comments below, and we get some pretty good discussions going on
Right.
down there in the
Lots
comment
of good
section.
stuff.
So
Doesn't matter how small or big,
right.
even if it's just, something that might only save a couple of pennies, it all adds up.
Every ounce counts.
Yep. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you're learning something new in our series. And even if you're not, I still hope you're enjoying it. And just sometimes it's nice just to hear other people doing the same thing that you're doing. It sort of reassures us, and it really affirms what we're already doing. And so it's just like the last video, a lot of people, I really saw very few ideas that I'm not already implementing in people's comments, but I still enjoyed reading every single one.
And people go, also, I'm sorry I interrupt, Mama, but we might know about some of the things that you guys share, but people going through and reading those comments will also get some great ideas from you guys. So if it seems like it's a pretty simple thing that you think everybody knows about, throw it in there.
Right. Yeah, because there's a lot of people that are realizing the importance of being more frugal and saving money, saving electricity, saving these different things, and your comments count to them just as much as this video, if not more so.
So heater elements and motors.
Yeah.
Those are the drawers. Those are the electricity drawers. So shut them off if you can.
How to save power? Don't use it.
Well, that's what I was going to say earlier.
You can say
Best
that
way
on-
to save money on electricity. Shut it off.
We can say that on every video series that we do.
That's right.
Okay, well, thanks for watching,
Take care.
and God bless.